fastest show in sports.
You just used the words which I think need to be used a little more often. You put Jake Paul in the same sentence as the phrase fixed fight. Jake Paul, of course, has come out and said that if anybody dares call it a fixed fight, I'm going to get a lawyer and I'm going to sue you. And of course, everybody laughs like hell at anything like that because all you have to do is watch the absolute bullshit nonsense that goes on in a Paul fight and you realize that it is made up. It's what I like to call, Wally, contrived controversy in many ways. That contrived controversy that news now works on, sports has done, but boxing does it. Let's create something with Jake Paul. Jake Paul is the death knell of professional boxing, is he not?
He's absolutely the death knell. He couldn't fight his way out of my boxing class at the Huntington Y. Tyson threw the fight. There's no doubt he was paid not to hurt Jake Paul. Same thing with Chavez Jr. I don't know how much money they're spreading around to build this guy up, but, if he fights Canelo and Canelo doesn't win, I guarantee you Canelo was paid not to win. This guy cannot fight, all right? He cannot. He is an amateur boxer, and anybody who falls for him. But, Ed, this is the dumbing down of America, okay? It's the reality TV-ization of America. It's everybody. It's the reality TV presidency where we're all on, every day's a cliffhanger. I'll tell you in 2 weeks whether I'm going to bomb Iran. I'll tell you in 2 weeks when I'm going to have a healthcare plan. I'll let you know. You wait and see. What the hell is this shit? But that's what this world and this country has become. Everybody's waiting for the commercial break, and oh my God, I can't wait to come back and see what's going to be. We used to do radio teases, and you've done radio. You'd say, when I come back, I'm going to tell you why, Derek Jeter will never be in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly.
I can't wait to hear what he's going to say. It was just stupidity. I was just trying to get you to come back after the commercial. But now people live and die for this shit, and it's very frightening.
But it is frightening. But why, Wally? You said it. It's the dumbing down of America.
I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you, all right? I'd be living on my own island somewhere out, in the Mediterranean. Who knows the reason? I don't know. People have been trained. They have been trained to expect. Well, first of all, look, I don't want to sound like an old guy, but I think the internet has changed all of us. It's changed all of us in terms of how we perceive time, right? Everything's got to happen right now. It used to be if, you went into a store and somebody asked you to wait 30 seconds, okay, no big deal. Now, if my page doesn't load in 5 seconds, I'm going, what the hell is going on here? We've been conditioned for everything to happen like right now. So the thing is, obviously everything can happen right now. So if it can't happen right now, I'm going to give you a tease about what's going to happen. So you'll stick around to see what's going to happen. I really think that this has been I don't know if it's just a confluence of events or if this has been planned, but it certainly has happened over the past 20 years where nobody can wait for anything anymore. There has to be instant gratification. That's why baseball's losing viewers, because it's too slow, right? It's too slow. I have to wait for the guy to pitch. Baseball had to put a pitch clock in so that they could speed up the game.
That's why baseball puts in new rules. You got to speed it up. You got to keep the generation happy.
How bush league is that? In extra innings. Let's put a run. That means it's Little League, right? We'll put a runner on second base. Everything is done to speed up because nobody can sit back and watch. This is why you can't sell a book anymore because nobody will sit down and read a book. It's why it's the reality TV-ization of the world. Like we're going to have a commercial every 5 minutes. We're going to leave you on the edge of your seat so you cannot wait to come back and see what's going to happen.
It is funny, but every time I say to friends of mine who are in boxing, who have been around it for many years, when I use the phrase boxing is dead. I did it recently to a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention his name because he really is very, very against saying anything negative about boxing. We both know him. Okay. And I said, okay, that's fine. I understand. But I will use the phrase boxing is dead. And he and others will come back at me and say, oh, Ed, stop. Boxing isn't dead. Boxing's just in a lull. That's all it is. Boxing will come back because we always have to have boxing. I can't think of anything that's a greater amount of bullshit in my life because when you look at this sport, it is dead. Boxing is dead. Wally, maybe we just need to put it away. Maybe we just need to say it's dead, walk away from it, and stop boxing altogether.
Well, I'm going to disagree slightly with you because boxing, I started covering boxing in 1983 or 4, okay? Boxing was dead then, we were told. Boxing is like Hyman Roth in The Godfather, right? So we're dying of the same heart
Good
attack
analogy.
for many years. All right? And at the time, boxing was dead. I mean, the heavyweight title was going from Greg Page to Tony Tubbs to Tim Witherspoon to Trevor Berbick and back again. And it was dead. And what brought it back? Tyson, right? That re-sparked the interest in everything. However, the landscape was different. You had HBO, right? You had Tyson used to fight on Saturday afternoons also when he was starting out. Then, HBO discovered him. I think his first not pay-per-view, but fight where you had actually paid to watch him was on the MSG network. He knocked out some guy, some aluminum siding mechanic or something at the Garden. But then once HBO got a hold of him, people, they will tell you, and I have friends who worked at HBO, that their subscription rates went up when they signed Tyson because people wanted to see him. Sure. Now,
because he was a bad man, too, because we were also told what kind of an individual he was. He was a kid who came from a criminal background. I think that grabbed people. That was the reality show sort of idea.
The Cousin the Kid narrative, which turned out to be complete bullshit.
Bullshit.
Like, it was racist as well, and I thought so back then, that this white father figure had tamed the beast, from the jungle of Bed-Stuy, which, is disgusting, but a lot of people swallowed it, and they would swallow that story today. But when I say the environment is different, you no longer have an HBO. And if a Tyson were to come along, you would have to fork over money to watch him on pay-per-view. And how many people would do that?
Not as many as used to. Used to have millions, now it's 10,000.
And here's the other thing. Who would he beat to make you feel that you have to see him?
That's the next thing. When you look out there and you look at some of the competition that's out there, look, it's always been a case in boxing where you'll have great champions who are on the rise or somebody who they want to go ahead and push forward. They give them the tomato can and the next tomato can. And
that's always throughout history. Absolutely. Because you'll find the same victims in the list of everybody, every great heavyweight on their way up. You see the same names.
I keep going back and I'll show my age. How many times can you put up a Chuck Wepner and see him bleed on cue?
There you go.
But
right. By the way, the networks didn't mind putting him on.
No, they didn't like putting him on because it was bloody at that point. But that's another thing, too. The competition level right now is pathetically appalling. There simply are not, you don't see anybody that's brought up. You don't see, and again, partially to your point, with amateur boxing and the way that's become pretty much a joke. But who do you put in the ring? Again, we go back to Jake Paul, and who do you put in the ring? Washed up has-beens and guys who are out there basically pumping gas on a weekend. And there's nothing to say.
Ed, you can't be a has-been unless you were something.
Okay, fair.
Right? Oh, there are no has-beens. I wish there were has-beens. Larry Holmes would have to come back. I mean, there ain't no has-beens anymore. Like a De La Hoya, threatens to come back.
Where the hell are they finding these people from, Wally? I mean, if you put a decent fight together for me, maybe I'll watch it. But when I look at these guys and I go, who?
Well, in fairness, the Canelo Crawford fight could be decent. It has some interest for me.
Could be.
It has some interest for me because they're both good fighters in their division. But, somebody said to me, and it's a guy I trust a lot and a guy I respect, said he's in the conversation with Sugar Ray Leonard and Hearns and Duran. I said, well, how? Who has he beaten? Who has he beaten that you could say he's in that competition? The best fighter he's beaten is Errol Spence, who looked awful in the fight and had just almost died in a car wreck. I mean, the guy was a completely shot fighter. So tell me the good fighter that he's beaten. And even like Canelo, at least Canelo's got his wins over Triple G, who's a good fighter. Golovkin, good fighter. Fought very well against Mayweather when I think he was like 21 years old. So, I mean, he's got at least a portfolio. But to tell me Terrence Crawford belongs in the conversation with Leonard, Duran, Hagler, and Hearns, you got to be out of your fucking mind. Who did he beat? Who did he beat and who beat him? Well, right now he hasn't beaten anybody and he's probably going to get beat by Canelo. So, let's end that conversation right there. However, having said that, I think it's an interesting matchup because it's always interesting when a guy who dominates one weight class tries to move up against a guy who's dominant in a bigger weight class.
Is it just as simple to say that if you take a Jake Paul, for instance, and I hate to keep coming back to him, but he is the current entree, if you will, in boxing. But if we keep coming back to him,
my life, go ahead.
Is it just the train wreck? Is that it, Wally? people just want it. To me, that's what it seems like. Show me the guy that's going to explode sometimes. Something stupid will happen. He'll come out here. He'll be tatted up again. He'll say something stupid. He'll do something stupid. But isn't that why people are now coming to boxing more than seeing the beauty of the sport? It's the train
That's
wreck.
not a new thing either. That's not a new thing either. Let's not forget, Muhammad Ali, when he was Cassius Clay, his whole persona was based on getting people to hate him because he figured more people hate him, more people come to see him get beat. And, so this is just, and I think.
Yeah, but he was smart about it.
Tyson, huh?
He was smart about it, though, Ali,
He
the
was
way
very
he
smart
played
about
it.
it because he was likable. He was hateable and likable at the same time.
There you go.
Now, Tyson followed that blueprint. Floyd Mayweather, God, I knew Floyd Mayweather when he was an amateur. He was one of the nicest kids I ever knew. But he decided, the way to really become popular, and he was right, was to become a supervillain. It's almost like the WWE model, right? Mm-hmm. You got heels and you got faces, right? So so he did his heel turn and it worked. So now I don't think Jake Paul's doing anything new here. I mean, this is something that was done all the way. The more people I can piss off, the more people will come to see me get beat. I went to a bar to watch him fight Tyson, and I guarantee you 90% of that bar was rooting for Tyson to take his head off. And by the end, everybody was disgusted, and, the place was silent. If either they were having conversations, not paying attention anymore, or just walking out because people wanted to see Jake Paul get the living shit kicked out of him.
Well, he's just another punk kid. That's all. He's not anything.
That's part of his appeal. I don't think anybody actually likes him. No, I shouldn't say that. I think there is a punk element in this country now that does admire him and feels like, they would like to be like him. Like the best description I ever heard of Donald Trump. He's a weak man's idea of a strong man, a poor man's idea of a rich man, right? And a dumb man's idea of a smart man. And that's exactly, and this is what they want to be. I would like to be like Donald Trump because he's everything I want to be. Well, I think that you have a lot of wannabe tough guys out there who look at Jake Paul and go, God, I would like to be him. He's the guy that I emulate. And I think that's pretty sad.
That's all, folks.